very pleased to welcome on board, welcome on stage, as Laurent said, Stéphane Boujnah from Euronext, that I don't need to present, I think, as a company. Ismail Ahmed from worldremit, which is one of the leading money transfer company, a global one, European, UK-based, but global one. And Olivier Goy, one of the European leading crowd lending platform, based in Paris, but growing aggressively in Europe. So we'll talk about growth and financing. We'll start about growth, mainly. And my first question would be to Ismail and Olivier regarding your growth pattern and maybe the secret sauces that you had to deploy to face a regulated environment. I mean, you're moving into that regulated environment. And of course, I guess that you had some challenge regarding this regulation, regarding competition, though you've been performing extremely well. So maybe if you could start about talking about growth and the context and the challenges that you have encountered in that growth, that would be a good start. And maybe I would turn to Stéphane to ask you whether that regulated context is something which fits well with a public offering and public markets. So, Ismail, if you want to start.
I think thank you. In heavily regulated fintech space, I think the focus in the early days should often be about building the foundation to meet what is increasingly becoming very complex and rapidly changing regulatory and compliance kind of environment. Because unlike other technology businesses like software, you can't build, cut corners at the beginning and think that you can fix your regulatory issues later on. So for us, in the first 3 years, we didn't take money from VCs. We actually took money from angel investors, because passive angel investors who gave us the money, simple structure, where we decided how we built the business. The speed of growth wasn't the focus, so in the first 3 years we grew very slowly, but we had built the strong foundation for compliance, for meeting regulatory challenges. And I think a good example for us is the US, where when we started the US, we went to get individual state licenses rather than rent a license. We could have rented a license like many other peer-to-peer lending or other fintech players have done. And had we done that, probably our revenues last year would have been 50% higher than what they were. But those who rented a license either from a bank, or there is the arrangement called a rent-a-tribe in the US, where you enter a relation with a native tribe, those have a lot of challenges now. So I would say in the early stage, the focus should not be, particularly in the heavily regulated industry, building the regulatory framework, kind of understanding, learning about what you need to do.
Thank you. Olivier, you're not yet in the US, but I think that the European scene is complex enough, so maybe if you can give us some feedback there.
Yeah, I think we will definitely focus on continental Europe so far. Lendix is a lending marketplace. We are allowing retail investors and institutional investors to lend money directly to small and medium-sized enterprises. That's what we do at Lendix. Like any startups, I will say we are targeting a strong growth. It's obvious, but we need to target a reasonable growth. What does it mean? It means that if we go too quickly, we will experience and face default rates and fraud. So that's the two main issues we are facing on a daily basis, meaning that we need to go very quickly, but to be very cautious too when we grow, and to make sure that we always master the development. And we had, I think, what is a very good idea at the very beginning of Lendix. We put our own money on the platform as lender. The management team puts its own money. That's quite key to have skin in the game, to be sure that we will never forget that default rate is quite key on this market. But you're right, when you want to go outside of your own country, we set up operation in France, but now we are lending in Spain, we have an office in Madrid, and also in Italy, we have an office in Milan. It's quite difficult because you can't go international with a call center based in Paris. You need to have a local team, you need a local regulation, you need to be locally regulated, and it's a long and painful process. Just to be regulated in Spain, we started in October 2015, and we just received the agreement in October last year. So it's a one-year process. So it's slightly different from, let's say, the classical technology business, where, generally speaking, between the idea and the execution, you have a shorter time.
Just maybe before asking what he thinks to Stéphane, I mean, you're regulated because basically when it comes to money, there's always a risk. The risk that the money is not transferred, the risk that the company that borrows money doesn't pay back. Do you think today that the crowd has the feeling that there is a risk when you propose them a service? Are we educated enough about the fact that the high yield or the easy service that the fintech provides is also going alongside with some kind of risk?
I really hope that they are aware that there's a risk. We just repeat them all day long that if you have no risk, you have no gain, or no gain, no risk. So we try to be very, we are very cautious on this point. The second thing, very important, is that regulation is just key, and we are really lucky in continental Europe because we have very strong regulators. It's completely different from the UK or the US, for example. Just to give you an idea, we're working with trust, and how do you create trust? Do you create trust because you have transparency, and the only body able to check that you have transparency is the regulator. If you have no regulators, you have no way to prove that you are transparent. And you have seen that, for example, in the US with Lending Club. So I think